Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 19, season 5 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live on Facebook and YouTube throughout the season. Welcome back, Richie. The Titans' defeat hit you so hard that you had to take a break away, but New South Wales and Warriors win back-to-back kind of brought you back onto the show. So how are you, and how was your time off?
Hey Brad. I'm keeping well, mate. To be fair, I didn't get to give my thoughts last week about the game we shouldn't mention, but it's nice to be back in the winners' circle and state of origin. I rather enjoyed that too, even though I was working and sort of just made it back in home in time to catch nearly the start. So I'm well though. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good. A huge thank you again to Rue for jumping on last week and helping me out, so I didn't have to do it all by myself. But it was good to actually go and watch the Warriors win after that horrible loss. But we'll talk about that a bit later. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at our convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of State of Origin and the round 17 matches. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as some questions we've got for each other. We'll then preview round 18 and decide who we're picking, before ending a night with a recap of the internationals that happened in the weekend instead of Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into it, Richie.
Yeah, let's do it.
I suppose the big news that kind of came out the last few days is the Warriors, Panthers, Sharks, and Raiders have all now been confirmed to be starting the 2025 season in Las Vegas.
Yep.
The Raiders and Panthers have been confirmed as the home sides for that contest.
So it's not our home game. That's good.
It's not our home game. I also heard rumors. I can't say it officially, but it sounds like we might be having an away game at Magic Ground too. So. That could be a double win for us, means more home games for me, hopefully.
Yeah. Richie going, oh yeah, at least it's not a home game. Lucky ever go.
Well, you were originally planning to come up for last week's game, weren't you?
Yeah. I wish I could have, mate. Now, especially in hindsight, now that we won.
Yeah.
But hey.
But yeah, what's your take on that? I know I've been a bit iffy about going to Las Vegas. Probably more due to the fact that I can't afford to go and be a fan over there. But what do you reckon about it?
It's cool. I know a lot of people I speak to are sort of like, wow, sort of a bit iffy on it. Maybe we have a concentrate on actually winning games rather than going away to Vegas. But I think it's cool. It's something different. Wish I could go. Probably best I don't. I don't know how well I'd go in Las Vegas. A lot of distractions. But, I think it'd be cool.
There for me.
Too many casinos over there for me, mate. Look at the hat I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jacko actually brought up a point that's been lingering in the back of my mind about the teams that went this year. Only one of them is in the top 8 right now. Admittedly, some of the others may get in there, but they haven't really.
Through the 4 teams that did go, and see whether we think they should be even in the top 8 kind of thing, or is it expected that they weren't there? So.
I think all 4 should be in there, or you would have expected them to be.
Well, run through who they are again, for those of us who can't remember.
Manly, Roosters, Broncos,
Rabbits,
and Rabbits. Yeah.
Okay. So all 4 you would think would be in there, but yeah, it's the decision's been made. It'll be interesting, at least when we have to watch it that week earlier before the season starts. We've got a horse in the race, so hopefully they haven't really said. I'm assuming we're playing the Panthers.
That's the rumours I've heard. It's the Panthers, which is cool.
Or they're not going to try to give us an easy win over there, are they?
We beat them with our C team, mate.
Oh, come on. They'll have Cleary back by then. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And yeah, Amanda said, do we know the 4 teams who's playing one another? We don't know officially. I'm assuming it's Warriors, Panthers, Raiders, Sharks. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get more once they do an official announcement. But anything else you want to add on that before we move on, Matt?
No, I'm cool.
All right, we've got a bit of referee talk in the next couple of points. But Wayne Bennett publicly discussed the current standard of officiating, and he said, I've got his quote here, I have to stand up for the players and the game I've spent my whole life being a part of and loving. Ricky Stewart also added to the debate, saying that the officials are just guessing when it comes to 6 again calls. And then adding to that, there's reports that multiple NRL club bosses are going to discuss the 6 again rule with the NRL in the postseason. So I kind of threw it all at you there, mate. We've been talking about it quite a bit, but yeah, what's your take on it? The NRL haven't said anything about Bennett because you don't touch Bennett when he says something. So.
No, he's untouchable. Yeah, we don't like to referee bash too much on the show. Who am I kidding? I love a good referee bash, and I find it hard to disagree with what Bennett and Ricky Stewart say. It does feel like a guessing game. When it comes to the 6 agains half the time, and I've even heard some people say it almost feels scripted and predictable at times when teams get on a run with penalties and 6 and agains, and then all of a sudden it'll hit a point in the game where the referee starts squaring it up. I don't know how much there is behind that, but sometimes it does feel that way. And then you look at some of the sin bins we're seeing. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Api Coruscant, to name a couple recently. Then you see one that was probably worse in State of Origin and gets nothing. Annesley comes out and defends the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck one, saying it was the right call, and then other similar ones he says, no, it shouldn't have been a sin bin. So, yeah, it's hard to get your head around everything when it comes to these officials.
Yeah, I don't mind the 6 agains. Like I see Jacko said, so what do they want to go back to penalties and have the likes of Cam Smith wrecking the game with stoppages? To be honest, there's still lots of stoppages now. Obviously not as many, but I just want consistency out of the 6 again calls. Because, yeah, it seems to be a pattern, and there'll be 2 situations in the same game. One will be a 6 again, one will be a play on. And I've seen arguments from Allensley saying that, if they called every 6 again, there'd be so many during the game. But then you can't pick and choose what you call. If there are going to be shitloads of them in a game, then so be it. So, yeah, I think there just needs to be a bit more consistency. But we'll never get consistency because it never happens.
That's the trouble. And although I was sort of agreeing with Ricky Stewart was saying feels like a guessing game, I do think it's a better product with the 6 again rule in the game. I just agree with you, Brad. Consistency would be nice because it does bring a flow into the game. It's just half the time it happens so quickly you don't know what half of them are for, and then it sort of swings, like I say, it goes in patterns. One team gets a bunch and then another team gets a bunch, and it's anyone's guess what half of them are for. But that's just a small critique. I do think it's better, especially since they've sort of brought in the penalty inside the 40 rather than giving all 6 agains. I think that made it a bit better again.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get more news out of it once Graham wants to discuss it. But he did have a few nice points in his briefing that I thought I'd jot down. I've got the three main ones. He said Blaise Talangi was correctly disallowed a third try. Mike Osivo's no try was correct due to the lack of evidence. And then that Api Coruscant should not have been sin-binned. Then, like you said, the Origin tackle, which looked worse than the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck tackle, should not have been. It was a perfectly legal tackle in his eyes, despite saying Roger's one was sin-binnable.
That's what I don't get. How do you defend the decision against Roger, but then say Api shouldn't have been sin-binned? They were both terrible calls. And It, yeah, and the Blaze Talangi try, I thought it was a try.
Yeah.
They're just watching it in super slow mo. You watch that thing in full speed. He gets the ball down just before the line, never leaves his hand, and it's almost like he slides over with the ball in his hand. It rolls a little bit, but when you watch it in full speed, for me, that's try.
Yeah. I have no say on it because Blaze Talangi's in my fantasy team. So getting the try is in my favour. So I don't want to be biased. But before we move on, I want to bring Paul in on this one. I was going to ask him about it last week. So the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck Simbinning, Paul, Graham Ellerslie came out and said that the tackle was okay, but it had the chance of going bad, and that's why he was sent to the Simbin, because it could have been bad. Not that it was, but it had the potential. Do you think they're opening a can of worms when they're Simbinning on what could potentially happen instead of what actually happened?
Yes. Because that takes things a step further. We have a lot of people, things get upset because you end up with things being judged on the outcome rather than the action. Now, if the action is you hit him high, or like if you swing a punch at somebody and you miss, it's the same as hitting somebody. You swung a punch. If you swing a punch, you should get carded, in my mind. Whether you hit or not is if the other guy's good at dodging a punch, it's not his. Why does he have to actually get hit before you get carded, right? So to me, it should be the action, not the outcome. Now, if you're saying, oh, he did something that might have eventually ended up being, you're taking it to it's not. That's just not the outcome. That's what the potential outcome of the action. Geez, you're going way too far there. It's either the action you're punishing or the outcome. This potential other outcome. My God, you're asking for trouble.
Or you could be Jacob Laban and get sent off for getting punched in the head.
Yeah, that one, they did come out. I was trying to get all the info, but it's really hard for the New South Wales Cup. But they did come out and say that his sin bin was incorrect.
You're no kidding.
That happened. That whole fight happened just as I got to the stadium on Saturday. So like, as we walked through the gates at the top, I was watching the refs sending them all off. So I got to watch it all on the replay. But yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, we'll move on. Otherwise, we'll spend all night talking about what could or should have happened. Australian rugby has granted.
Go on.
Mark Nawaqanatowasahi.
Not
bad. I've got no idea.
Noah. Does Paul know? Paul should know. He's the rugby union guy. Come on, mate.
His nickname's Marky Mark.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. So Marky Mark and Carter Gordon have both been granted early releases, and they'll be free to join the Roosters and Titans this season. Although Mark will not join the Roosters until after he competes in the Sevens at the Olympics. There are a few clubs apparently upset that they're letting them get them early. But from what I've seen, they both didn't have 30 players registered yet, so it's still okay there. I don't know if they're getting paid a lot of money or whatnot. It's the Roosters. Money's no option. You're not going to see either of these guys playing first grade this season anyway.
No.
From the press releases I saw from both the Roosters and Titans, it was all about they're getting them in early to kind of get them into the system and into the swing of things. So I've got no issues with it. It's not like they've announced that they've signed a Sonny Bill or one of those players that have experience in the NRL. But then the Dolphins got TPJ a few weeks ago, so I don't see the issue.
Are they breaking any rules?
No,
no issue.
There's always breaking rules somewhere.
Well, I was how does this suddenly impact your salary cap? If a guy arrives early that you weren't planning on paying, suddenly you're paying him early.
You have a set amount of money for the top 30. So if you haven't got 30 players, there's money left over. So the bean counters move things around.
I don't know. That would be the one for me. Also as an NRL thing, hang on a second. What do you mean? I've got to start paying him early? I agreed to start paying him in September. You now want me to pay 2 months extra pay? No. What's going on? Hang on. Where's that money coming from? That's not in the budget.
Yeah, and Jacko also mentioned June 30th cutoff, so that might have been the issue, that it was after June 30th.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, the Roosters get what they want anyway, and the Titans need help, so I don't care. But yeah,
They
Paul,
did.
As we talked to you,
are they any good?
look, Marky Mark's return is look, he's a tall, strong winger. And has really stepped up his game this season. Historically, has been a bit susceptible on defence, so we'll see about his tackling piece. Could be a bit of an issue, but if you check him out on the wing, it's less of an issue than if he's in the centres. Let's be honest. So yeah, no, look, he's a decent player. Would have been in the Wallabies squad, and I've forgotten who the other guy was.
Carter Gordon, sorry.
Carter Gordon.
Gordon is one I'm a bit surprised at because I'd say a 10 in Union, so the kind of guy who lets other people doing the tackling. So I think defensively it's going to be a question mark around him. I think you have to hide him somehow. But
That's
look,
just called a
looking
back,
for, sorry.
That's just called a back.
No, yeah, I know. Oh, really? Because I didn't think Sonny Bill was. He's a forward in league, isn't he?
And he is, yeah.
Anyway, so but I mean, look, if you're looking for his kicking will be great. Will be his tactical kicking will be good for the team, and he's obviously kicking posts as well. So very useful in that kind of part of the game. I would suggest perhaps not so much running, though.
He's gone to the Titans. They're not really known for defence anyway. So from the salary cap, and I don't think there's such a thing as salary cap for the Roosters. Yeah, no. They just pay you what you want. Everyone takes pay cuts to play for the Roosters because of all the premierships they've been winning the past few years. So we'll move on unless you've got anything else to add about the Union guys.
No, smart on.
All right, so Paul Kent. He's been sacked from NRL 360, NRL media commentary, and his column with the Daily Telegraph this week. I think his court appearance was today, and he hasn't got an official conviction, but he's got a 2-year good behavior thingy. That's my legal jargon there, mate.
Yeah.
It's kind of writing was on the wall. I think we were talking a little bit with Ruin Hammer about it, and I said he was going to keep those jobs after the first one. But when he had the second one that got on camera and everyone looked at it and it went everywhere, there was no chance they were giving him a second chance, So it's no big loss for me. I really enjoy what he does on 360 at the best of times. And yeah, Amantis has said Paul Kent was playing the mental health card, which is really, I think, sealed his fate because he is very aggressive to the players that talk about mental health troubles, and he says they're soft and they need to sort their shit out. And now he's playing that card, so he's obviously got a drinking problem. Let's be thing, and I think that's what I said. I put my tinfoil hat on, which I don't do on the show too much anymore. But I said, in my opinion, I think they went to him and said, "We need you to get your drinking sorted or go into a program and your job's here for you." And I feel like he's gone stuff you. So they've let him go. And yeah, Rob said, unfortunately, he needs more airtime for James Graham. I'm not going to besmirch a prop on this show, Ro. You're not tricking me. But yeah, what's your take on it? Both, yeah. Paul, you've jumped on as well.
I jumped on just to clear things up. So he pleaded guilty. So he was found guilty of it. It's just that his sentencing was good behaviour. And look, I mean, did he say a bit of an over? The guy goes, "Are you going to the match tomorrow?" And the guy goes, "No," because he thought it was a reference to apparently his previous one of domestic abuse, which he was not found not guilty of. And then the other person said, "That's right, you like to bash women." That's what the person said, not necessarily what he necessarily likes to do, just in case we get sued. And then they obviously ended up in a fight after that. But yeah, he pleaded guilty. So look, he was found guilty. But so as someone said there, he tried to have it tried under the Mental Health Act, but the the magistrate said, "Nah, we're not having that."
Yeah, I think it's like what you said earlier, Paul. If you go for the punch and you miss, it still should count. So I think that was how he got off. He missed.
And he
Sue
flipped
me,
himself
go
into
on.
a tree.
He flipped himself into a tree. Yes, that tree might be suing for damages. We never know. But yeah, anything else you want to add on that? Simon said you shouldn't throw stones at glass houses. Yeah, he everything he's getting in trouble for now is the same stuff he's made a lot of money off ripping players apart for, which is why he hasn't got a lot of backers, because all the players just are loving it. As we saw when that video came out, all the former players that have shows and podcasts, all they did was talk about it. But yeah, anything else you want to say on it before we move on?
Not really, mate. I'm not overly upset about it, like you and like everybody else. So, yeah. Hopefully he sorts his drinking problem out and moves on.
Yeah. Just got to handle his liquor better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move on to some good news. The Warriors actually announced the signing of Newcastle's two-time NRLW Premiership winning coach, Ronald Griffiths, on a 3-year deal to coach the Warriors NRLW side from next season. Kind of out of the blue, a big signing. He's a very good coach. He's currently coaching the Newcastle New South Wales side, New South Wales Cup side, I should say. But yeah, has a lot of experience in guiding the women's teams through the comp. So I think it's a great way to start. You kind of want to get that experience in there when you're starting it all over again. So very happy, as I mentioned with you during the week. He also got to coach Millie Boyle. So potentially, he can call Millie and get her home. I highly doubt that. I don't see her going to another country and leaving her husband back in Australia, because I don't see the Warriors picking up Adam Elliott to get Millie. But what's your take on Ronald and what potentially he could? He's got star power enough as a coach to lure some of those players over here. Mainly the Kiwi girls that are over there. I'm not saying he's going to try to bring like Tamika Upton and the likes to New Zealand.
Yeah.
But those Kiwi girls that went over there when we had no team, I think he could get back.
Yep, yeah, I hope so. It's great. It's good to have somebody of his caliber who's been there and done it and been successful. Come help kickstart our NRLW side back into the competition. Hopefully, too, I've seen Portia Woodman retiring from rugby, former Black Ferns, saying that she wouldn't rule out signing as long as she signs for the right team. That would be awesome. But yeah, I'm just pumped to see us back in the NRLW and with the pieces of puzzle like that falling into place with Ronald Griffiths. It's a really great start.
It would be nice to get Portia and Ruby in that team.
Oh yeah, wouldn't it?
But yeah, you've got stuff to add, Paul. I know we're here to steal all the rugby union girls, so
that's fine. No, it's the more. I was going to say, look, it shows that they're taking it seriously as well. The Warriors taking the women's side seriously, and let's hope they're putting in all the other pieces that they need as well, and doing it properly, and not just doing it to kind of tick the box. But that kind of appointment makes it look like, as I say, they are taking it seriously, which is a good thing to see.
To be honest, I have a feeling we're going to see every Warriors team below first grade win a title before first grade do. I can just see it. I see the women will win one, New South Wales Cup will get one, SG Ball will get one.
Harold Matts already did it.
Harold Matts have already done it. The under-20s have already done it.
Well, look, but that's part of what should be happening, right? You should be building up. Those players should be coming through with a winning mentality into it. So if that's what's happening, and also I'm not suggesting we bring the women through to the men's team, but your under-20s, your New South Wales Cup, those guys should be looking at winning, because then you bring those players through with a winning mentality, and they know how to win, and that's how you should be building a club. Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to having a Warriors team in the NRLW again too. And before we move on from that, we have already lost a young superstar, the Harold Matts captain. has signed with the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
lost him already, unfortunately. But yeah, it is what it is.
happens.
When you have a team that wins the comp in their first year, you're not going to be able to keep all of them at their age. So yeah, disappointing there. But we'll move on. The Queensland women's side secured the series in the women's state of origin with a 22-6 win in Game 3 last Thursday. Did you watch it?
Yep, and I don't know what happened to New South Wales. It's just Queensland were all over them in this one, and kind of like the reverse of what happened in the men's game, where New South Wales were all over it. But yeah, congrats to the women's Queensland team. They obviously dropped the first one, and then lit a fire under them, I suppose.
Yeah, New South Wales, they just didn't arrive. They didn't come. I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, very happy as the New Zealand Queensland supporter I am that one Queensland team won last week. So we'll move on quickly because I know you want to talk about that game in a bit. But the West Tigers have officially granted Stefano Utokumanu permission to test his value on the open market. The Storm and Dragons are two sides interested in him. We talked a bit about it last week, Rue and myself, about how most teams that have money would be interested in talking to him at least. The money he's kind of commanding, I don't know if a lot of teams will jump at it, but I could see like a Panthers kind of come in with them losing James Fisher-Harris. They might look at a Stefano. He says he wants to win titles, so I feel like the Storm and Panthers and Roosters are your only options, and Roosters don't need him. So I feel like it's Panthers and Storm for me. Dragons, I don't see them winning a title anytime soon, as good as they've been playing.
Wouldn't surprise me if Roosters went after him though, eh? Jared Warrior-Hargrave's not around forever.
Well,
they have that war chest of money. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if he wants to win titles, then going on the open market's probably the best move, because you're not going to find one of those at the Tigers anytime soon. But yeah, I'm similar to you, Brad. I think a lot of potential there with him to be, one of the game's better props, but I'm just not sure about tying up a massive chunk of your salary cap money on a prop. No offense, Brad.
They're the only ones that deserve the big coin, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd take them in a heartbeat for the Warriors if we could. But yeah, I think it's like 900 to $1 million he's wanting.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of money for a prop unless your name's Payne Haas.
Yeah, you need to be a special kind of guy to get that kind of money. But yeah, there was a note from Jacko. We talked about it a bit last week when you weren't here, that the Storm might let Nelson go and go after Stefano. And I talked about the fact that Nelson potentially could end up at the Tigers if they lose Stefano, simply due to him needing a new club if the Storm want to let him go, and his relationship with Benji from the Kiwi side of things. Don't know how good that is after he said he would quit the Kiwis and go play for the Wallabies. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be an interesting couple of months, I think, because we won't get an official signing, I don't think, until potentially either the end of the year or next year if he does leave. But we can move on from that unless you've got something else you want to add.
No, we can move on.
Broncos winger Jordan Perina has announced his retirement from the NRL effective immediately due to a neck injury he got in reserve grade. Apparently he's lost a lot of strength in one of his arms from it and has had to call it. Wasn't the greatest player out there, but he was a handy hand when you needed him. And you want to go out on your own terms and not something like this. So very unfortunate for him, but quality of life is what matters. You don't want to see him going out there with a bum arm, just trying to push one more year out of himself. So best of luck for whatever he does next. But have you got anything to add about Jordan?
Yeah, I actually thought he was quite a handy player that probably didn't see as much first grade as what he could have, due to people in front of him. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, Like you say, life after football is a long time, so sometimes you got to make these decisions for your quality of life and you know your how you live after you leave football. You're a long time retired, so wish him all
yeah.
the best. I hope once now that he's moving on, he that injury kind of he gets the best recovery he can from it and does well outside of footy.
Yeah. And last bit of news before we get into signings, injuries, and whatnot. The Knights have been rumoured to have told Daniel Saifidi, Jaden Bradley, thinking about myself now, and
You're
Jack
Bradley.
Hetherington, yeah, and Jack Hetherington that they're free to negotiate with other clubs and can leave Newcastle this year. Brayley was the only one that surprised me a bit, but then he's kind of been up and down injury-wise. Jack
Yeah.
Hetherington, he is what he is. Daniel Saifidi, I think, could just be more of a getting him off the books so they can actually afford other players than him not performing. We talked about it a while ago that Daniel Saifidi was rumoured to be a guy the Warriors were looking at if the Knights wanted to let him go due to AFB leaving, his relationship that he's got with Mitch Barnett. Would you be open to Daniel coming here at the right price?
The keywords there, Brad, at the right price. Yeah, I would. I wouldn't say no. Very experienced. Has tasted rep footy, so we know he's got that caliber in him. It's just the consistency. So if we were able to get the right price tag, I'm sure Webby could do some things with him. But yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think at the right price he could be a good duo with James Fisher-Harris. Potentially. I wouldn't say no, as long as we're not hearing that you're paying like superstar money just to get him here. I don't think he's worth the expense. But if you look, potentially guys like Chaz Tavanga might not be there. Bunty Afoa seems to be on the outer. If you're going to have guys like that disappear, a guy like Saifidi would be a good guy to put in there until you've got the next ones in the lower grades ready for first grade regularly, like your Zions, your Toms, Sifakula, depending on if they decide to move him up the front or not. So yeah, I wouldn't say no, but it's all down to the money. If they can get him at the right price, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. Signings, mate. The big one, Angus Crichton.
Just a quick one on signings. Brad is not available. He's not a free agent for other podcasts, so stay away, folks.
I don't get paid on any podcast, so I kind of do them all. So if you've got a podcast, you need someone to jump on. I'm always willing, as you've seen if you watch any other podcasts. I always pop up somewhere. I'm generally known as the Warriors whore of podcasts. I'm on any Warriors.
You're
podcast.
a freelance podcaster, a session guy.
Yeah. But yeah, back to signings. Angus Crichton. There was a lot of talk about where will he go. He's now signed a 2-year extension with the Roosters. It's hard to argue. He's been playing great since he figured out that they didn't want him anymore. Then once Fafita did the backflip, they were desperate to make sure they kept him. Well-deserved 2-year deal for him. You got any thoughts?
Yeah, it's almost career best he's playing at the moment. So, once that backflip happened, it made perfect sense to lock him in. I almost feel like he might have been a tad insulted. They were looking at Fafita before looking to lock him up, but it's nice to see that they've got that deal done though.
Yeah, and on the other side of it, Satili Tupanua has apparently signed a 4-year deal to join the Bulldogs. No official confirmation from the Bulldogs yet, but it keeps firming. So that was the risk. They basically told Tupanua, we've got Fafita coming, you're free to go. And then there was talks that they were trying to renege that permission, but he said no. And wouldn't be a bad player for the Bulldogs. I keep saying they need some middles. He's a handy player when his mind's in the right place, so I'm sure he could do well. I'm sure by the time we do the show next week, we will have a confirmation one way or the other. So
probably after the show.
Yeah? Probably after the show. They'll announce it tomorrow.
That'd be a handy get for the Dogs. Just add a bit more depth to the forwards. I don't know what you. I don't think you put it in the news, but I just saw what Jacko put there. Townsend's apparently signed with the Roosters.
Yeah, it's a last minute addition that you didn't get to see.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
So
we'll get to it. Wait, relax.
Okay.
Nick Kotrick signed a 3-year deal to join the Catalan Dragons from next season. Makes sense. He's kind of running out of juice in the NRL. Handy at times, but he'll kill it at Catalans. And Dane Laurie has extended with the Panthers for another year, which I think is great. Year by year is probably best for him. He's only getting limited chances. There was a lot of noise that the Roosters are going to sign Chad Townsend on a 1-year deal. And I went and looked at the article. They said he's signing the deal to be the experienced backup. So they're sticking with their halves they've got. And he will be there to add experience for guys like Sam Walker to learn off and be there if one of them goes down.
From that point of view, then it makes sense. I didn't see him. I saw the rumour before jumping on tonight, and I didn't think. I immediately didn't think, making the starting lineup or anything like that. I immediately thought backup guy.
Do you think that's
someone there to?
You think that's the offer they gave SJ, and that's why he turned it down? Because they're like, we want you over here as a backup.
Yeah, well, maybe. But I mean, when you look at what their options are in the halves, Carey's leaving, and the two guys that left are still very young and learning their trade. So why not add a one-time premiership winner into the mix for them to, soak up that experience?
Yeah, and Jacko said he's taking a big pay cut, though. Yeah, to be honest, I think the Cowboys weren't going to extend him, so it was take a big pay cut or get paid nothing and retire. So, I'm sure he's just happy to go around another year. Potentially, he could be in a good spot to pad out his stats with another premiership win next year if the Roosters win. Just get a couple of games some point in the thing and go, yep, that was me. And Simon also said he found it hilarious that Catalan Dragons are criticised for not bringing anything to Super League, but they keep bringing all these ex-NRL players into the comp. Yeah, that's the desired place people want to go in the Super League. They want to go to beautiful Catalans instead
south of France.
Yeah, go into the horrible wet weather of England. We'll see what happens with how Catalans goes. They're not really performing that great at the moment. They're closer to the top of the ladder than they are the bottom, but teams like Wigan that are just kind of leaving them in the past. But we'll move on to injuries, mate. We've got a couple. There were heaps, but I went for 4 big ones. So Jermaine Hopgood from the Eels is out for at least 12 weeks, so basically his season's over. Because he needs lower back surgery. So I think he said even if the surgery goes well, he probably won't be back in 2024.
Yeah,
big loss for the Eels, but they're kind of really struggling at the moment anyway. So he probably is like, book me in. Let's have the rest of this year off. Broncos, Jack Gowinski, I think is how you say his name. He broke his arm and is going to be out for 8 weeks. He did that early on in the Warriors game. Tough for him. Hopefully he gets on the mend quickly. Joey Manu's out for around 4 weeks after fracturing his hand in the crack that was heard around the world. Jeez.
Nasty.
We'll go on to gambling talk for a bit. I told you I had I did put money on the Tigers. But I had a Roosters one where it was Dom Young and Joey Manu to score. that was it. And Dom had already helped me out. I was just waiting for Manu. When that went down, I was saying horrible things to that poor man. It's like, it's only a broken hand. Get back out there. It's fine.
You would have thought that would have been a sure thing against the Tigers too.
I did. But yeah, big loss for the Roosters there, especially with him leaving at the end of the year. You know, he kind of wanted to get as many games as he could in. And then lastly, Xavier Coates is out for 6 to 8 weeks with a low-grade hamstring tear. So some big names added to the already big list of big names out injured, mate.
Yeah, there's, like you say, there's even more. Jeremy Marshall-King, another big one.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just what's happened this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big name players.
Yeah.
Stints on the sideline.
Bjorn said a prop would stay on. 100%. That is true. Broken hand, smoking hand. So we'll move on to Naughty Boys. We only got 2, mate. Kurt Donahue from the Dolphins. Grade 2 careless high tackle. He got a 3-match ban.
Yep.
He pleaded guilty early. If he fought, he could have got 4. You happy with 3 weeks?
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah. And then, we talked about it a little bit in the news. Corey Horsburgh from the Raiders. He is going to miss 3 weeks after being charged for headbutting and striking in his side's New South Wales Cup match against the Warriors. I couldn't see if Tom Ali got any...
I'm not sure.
They have nothing on the web. The only thing I saw was the 3 weeks and that Laban was incorrectly sent to the bin.
Yeah.
But they didn't say if Tom was getting a week or 2 suspended or not. I couldn't find it anywhere.
He's cracked the code though, Big Red, isn't he? Who knew you could get people sent off if you just punched them in the head a couple of times?
They weren't even good punches, man.
The secret's out.
The headbutt wasn't that great either.
He created a try. He pretty much gave him a try assist for what he did too.
All right, and breaking news. They didn't wait till Thursday. Chad Townsend has officially signed with the Roosters for 2025. So that's just pop. I was trying to see if I could find the Tom Ali thing.
I was going to say, nice to see you read the news while we're trying to do a podcast.
I'm checking my emails.
Multitasker.
I don't try to do it too much in case the internet craps out. And
You want to
Paul
put in
doesn't know
no
what he's
clickbait.
looking. Paul doesn't know what he's looking at the best of times. So, So, and like Simon said, that's the mystery of life, being sent up for a few punches. And then he's sending us where he gets his lists from, his news.
He says here is where he gets his news. Dumbass.
Oh.
Jeez.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the news at the same time. Hold on. I'm still trying to find it. Give me some time.
It's a shambles here.
Yeah, they've got nothing on Tom Ali about his suspension. So I've still got nothing. All that for nothing, Matt. Is there anything else you want to add? There was a lot of fines, but...
Yeah. There always is.
We'll move on then to State of Origin around 17, kicking off with New South Wales finally remembering how to play.
Dominating.
And, defeating Queensland 38.
Dominating. Yeah, 7 tries.
Spectator time. My glasses are actually in my car, so I'm not going to get them.
Yeah. Back on topic. 7 tries to 3 for New South Wales. You're all good. For New South Wales, Liam Martin, Brian To'o with 2, Zach Lomax with 2, Latrell Mitchell and Dylan Edwards. For Queensland, Jeremiah Nanai, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Murray Taulangi. There you go. Looking smart, Brad.
I had a set of glasses next to the computer, so I'll put them on. So New South Wales started with plenty of gusto and just never looked back in the first half. Attack was a lot more dangerous with Moses directing it, and the addition of Latrell Mitchell created plenty of attacking threats down his edge. There were they were watching him too much, was the opening spaces to everywhere else, I noticed. I thought they did let the foot off the gas in the second half, but the damage was already done. Should lead to a very exciting decider in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on New South Wales?
Yeah, unbelievable first half from the Blues. They recorded their most dominant first half ever in Origin. The much talked about lineup changes. Moses Latrell had impact and proved to be the perfect selection choices. Their scoring did slow down, like you said, Brad, in the second half, and they let in 3 Queensland tries, but end of the day, still a very dominant performance and keeps the series alive. That's what we want.
Yeah, and your take on Queensland?
Yeah, just in the whole first half, just not in the game and pretty much completely outplayed. Just not as nowhere near as accurate as they were in game one. Clearly, they had the same amount of players this time around, which helped New South Wales. Yeah, it'll be intriguing to see how Billy Slater and the Maroons respond at home in game 3.
Yeah, I think you can, if you want to be soft about it, you can bring the excuse of it was, win or lose, there's a decider, in Origin 3 at home. I'm not buying that. They just struggled to handle the pressure of New South Wales. They were stuck right on their try line, it felt like, for the first 10 minutes. And then when they got the ball, they couldn't keep hold of it. They looked out of sync and out of ideas, with the exception of a brief period at the beginning of the second half, which is all one-eyed Queensland supporters going on about, that they won, 3 tries to 1 in the second half, which showed how good they are, which when you're down 34-0 at halftime, it doesn't matter what you do in that second half. Massive wake-up call. I think we spoke about it after Origin 1, that despite being a player down, New South Wales didn't look that bad. And if they had 13, it would have been really tight. And we saw what could happen here. So we're going to see how Billy Slater responds. Like Jacko said, it was good to see Billy Slater a bit salty. It was the weirdest post-match interview I've ever seen. Every question he kind of got asked, he just said, "We are Queenslanders." I don't know how that helps. Made no sense. And he's got to eat some humble pie, and he's got to bring David Feeder in, I think.
I think so, yeah. Reece Walsh really struggled too.
I think he's scared. I think he was a bit scared after getting knocked out the first one. He looked really gun-shy.
Yeah. Latrell bullied him a little bit too at one point there, and maybe you're right. Maybe just a little bit gun-shy.
But very, very good game for New South Wales. Horrible for me to have to stay up late and watch it. But who was your player that stood out?
Oh, I had to go with Mitch Moses. Coming back into this arena, had his hand in most of the tries, both ends of the ball. I think he caused a couple of knock-ons with hits on Dearden as well. That we just looked a lot more organised with him at the helm.
Yeah, I went with Moses too. The flat track bully did well once again. He should have been. I would have put him in game 1 despite him just coming back. And Paul said he can't find any fantasy points for Origin. Yeah, sorry, they don't do that.
You're calling Origin a flat track game.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
It may as well have been. New South Wales weren't playing anybody, were they?
That's meant to be the best team in the world.
Nah.
That he just beat up on.
Nah. You're only as good as your last, and the best team in the world right now is New Zealand, aren't they? They beat Australia.
Oh, I mean, apart from New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Moses, he did what we all expected him to do. If he was selected, I think might be kicking the boot in because I'm about to do it a bit more in the next game. But if Hines was in the 7, I don't think they may have still won, but I don't think they would have won like that.
Is that Hines done for rep footy for a while, you reckon?
And after the game we're about to talk about, that could be Hines done for the NRL as well. Go to Super League, go to Catalans as well. So we'll move on to the first game, as we just said, the Bulldogs defeating the Sharks 15-14 in Golden Point.
Yeah. 3 tries to 2. The winning team actually had less tries. So the Bulldogs try scorers Viliami Kukau, Reid Marnie. For the Sharks, Braden Nakora, Sione Katoa, and Braden Trindle. Yeah,
Bulldogs started well, but they were a bit under the pressure in the final 60. Defense wasn't as tight as we've come to expect from them this season, but they were clutch when it counted, with Burton putting plenty on his monster bombs, which was causing all kinds of trouble and having me very worried. And then going 100% at the kicking tee, and then was cold as ice and Golden Point slotting that match winner, keeping them undefeated at home this year, which has me worried a lot more this week. But your take on the Doggies?
We have to play them twice too.
Yeah, they're the only undefeated team at home this year.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Oh, let's hope. I thought they came out of the blocks quickly, but they did allow the Sharks to fight back and force Golden Point. But as they've done so often this year, they've found a way to win. And with Matt Burton, the hero, he did what Nico Hines couldn't do. Like you said, Nico Hines right in front. Matt Burton 40 out, able to nail one for the win. It's a big result against one of the top teams this year, which for me proves they're likely making a return to finals footy this year, which is exciting.
Yeah, and your take on the Sharks?
Yeah, they have been an improved side this year, no doubt. But there has been the odd game this year that they may regret dropping if they miss the top four. They're still sitting in the top four, but if they do miss it, there's a couple of games this year, and this might be one of them where they probably could have and should have iced. I think back to the Dolphins game too. I think I was favouring them to win, and then they completely choked it and went down 22-0, only to nearly come back. But there's just been a couple of games this year where they probably should have iced, but didn't quite get the job done. And has people talking about Nico Hines and his clutch ability, or maybe he's got a lack of clutch ability. But we're starting to get towards the back end of the regular season now, and they're still sitting in the four, so they're still sitting okay.
Yeah, a bit like what Jacko said. Jacko said they should have won, only Burton's big kicking game kept the Dogs in it. I've kind of said the same. The Sharks did more than enough to win this match. The attack wasn't overall great, but it was still sharp at times, which we saw in the beginning of that second half, where they went bang bang with Katoa and Trindle scoring in 10 minutes. But the boot was their letdown. Hines, he only got one conversion out of the three, missed that. He didn't nail that field goal.
It was a sitter too.
It was a sitter. Hard loss for them to take, like you said, in a real missed opportunity, which the Sharks do seem to do. You talked about it, like that Dolphins game. You look last year when they had that win in the bag against us, and then we did that miracle comeback in the second half. Games like that, they just seem to have a couple in them every year where they just let it slip. But
yeah,
it's probably better to lose a game like this where they are sitting on the ladder as opposed to if they're further down. You've got a bit of wiggle room, but your player to stand out.
Yeah, had to go Burton.
Yeah, I went with Burton too.
Needless to say.
Chance has been practicing all week, hopefully.
I hope so.
Those bombs. And hopefully he sticks them straight down the middle instead of going towards Dallin or Marcelo.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a new gift now that Brad's dropping stats bombs. Spiky data.
Occasionally I have a stat or two. So we'll move on to the next game. The Warriors defeating the Broncos 32-16.
Yeah, that's more like it. 6 tries, 3 for the Warriors. Chanel Harris-Tavita with 2. Should have been 3. I still maintain it should have been 3. Tamaiti Martin, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Dylan Watene-Zelezniak, and Freddie Lussick, the mana waiver. Broncos 3 try scorers. Dean Mariner actually he had 2, and Xavier Willison with he pretty much just bullied his way over through 3 or 4 tacklers. But yeah, that was all the try scoring for the Broncos.
Yeah, Dean Mariner found a second wind at halftime because he would have heard on the speakers when he's in the change room his dad singing the Matter of Face song over the speakers. So he heard his dad. It's like, I'm going to do this for Dad. But yeah, big improvement this week for the Warriors. It was against the Broncos outfit missing a lot of their stars, but we've seen the Warriors lose these matches before. But the forwards won the battle up front, and this allowed TMM and CHT to create some scoring opportunities for the backs. If they can grow from this performance, then the season may not be over just yet. Jacko said traders here wouldn't back the Wires last week. I backed them with my wallet, Matt. I put money on them to win. I just didn't pick them in my tips.
It's very hard to tip a team that just lost by 66-6 to the last place team, to be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought
they made it hard.
But yeah, your thoughts on the Warriors?
Yeah, night and day. This performance when compared with the week before. The Warriors look far more controlled and deliberate. They were playing with the energy that they looked like they were lacking the week before. If I'm going to critique them, they probably could have scored a couple more tries on the back of their dominance in the first half. We had a lot of ball, we had a lot of territory. But they did exactly what they needed to do and picked up a strong win, albeit against a weakened team, but you only play what's in front of you. So the main thing is we picked up the win. We keep ourselves in the hunt in the hunt for the finals. I think if we dropped that game, it started becoming very, very hard.
Yeah, well, we went and watched them play the Baby Broncos live last year and watched them lose, so it can happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, you didn't talk about the Broncos yet, did you?
Not yet. Shall I?
Yeah,
I think they. It seems to be the same thing every week the past month for the Broncos. Far too many errors from them. And that's not just any one player in particular. It's sort of spread out throughout the team. I think Tristan Saylor probably caught out of position a number of times, particularly on that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck try. It was just a simple grubber into no man's land and he was nowhere to be seen. Just looks to me like they're really, really missing Adam Reynolds in particular. A guy like him would really help guide them through this. But they really need to turn things around now or face the possibility of missing the finals. They're scrapping for a spot now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack has just said their Broncos looked out of sorts for a while. Yeah, they're on a 4-game losing streak, including against the Titans.
About to become 5.
Possibly.
They got the Panthers coming up. But against, it's what Titans, Sharks, Souths, and now the Warriors. And looking at the stats, you got 3 offloads to none, and then 18 dummy passes to 6. It looks like the Broncos' game plan was pretty straightforward. You could see what was coming, and as long as you could deal with it. Whereas there was much more questions being asked by the Warriors, making the defence think more, which I don't think the Warriors had to think much in defence, looking at those sort of stats.
Yeah, and before I go on about the Broncos, in an interview after the game with Tamati Martin, that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck try, he said at halftime Sean told him to do it. He said Tristan wasn't really getting his positioning right. He said if you put a grubber through, you're probably going to catch him sleeping. So Tamati gave Sean credit for that, where he knew what to do at the time. But yeah, for the Broncos, they were just lacking direction and firepower, as I've said every week since they had the combo of Reynolds and Walsh out. Throw in no Payne Haas, no Carrigan in there as well. You lose a bit of leadership at the front, but they just couldn't get into the contest, making error after error, and just looked off the pace. Mariner helped them out. They took a few chances. Xavier, just as traditional, like a prop try as you can get, and that boy is a monster.
Unit. He's a unit.
So it's a try the Warriors probably shouldn't have let him get, but he's a hard boy to stop that close. But yeah, 4 losses in a row now, like Paul just said, and the pressure's on, because if they don't sort it out quickly, they could miss the 8 this year. And Reynolds isn't back until I think like round 24. So they've got a couple more rounds before they get him back. It could be dicey times, but your player to stand out.
Tamati Martin, I think it was... Yeah, I think he made it hard not to pick him. I thought both halves were very good. I thought Chanel was a very good foil for him as well. But Tamari, every time he stepped up in the 7 this year, uh, he just
Undefeated.
seems to lead us around well.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. We don't look predictable, but he controls the team. He comes up with try assists. He just seems to pull the right punch every time. So, yeah,
Just
I think
good at that.
we've got to back him while he's hot.
Yeah, back in while he's hot.
We kind of have to with Sean out.
There's no option at the moment. Yeah, so hopefully he keeps performing at this level. I went with him too. I thought he was great, and I know Mitch Barnett led with fantasy points, and I love me Barney. He's probably my favourite player now since AFB is abandoning ship. So Barney, loved him to bits out there. He's a great leader. But yeah, Tamati, I think I said in my review this week that side by side with Sean, he's nowhere near as good as Sean. But what he lacks, he doesn't have like the kicking oomph that Sean does, but he has subtle little things. So like he'll put the grubber on, he'll do a kick to the corner. He does. He knows how to pick and choose. We're just got to see that continue. And yeah, Jacko said she did a lot of kicking as well. It's great having a guy that kicks to the right and a guy that kicks to the left.
Yeah, got that left foot option. It's good.
And yeah, they're combining well. But yeah, Paul.
Mitch Barnett's down there obviously in the 12 jersey. So did he start in second because he's down as a position as prop? So did he start the second round, move into prop?
He did a bit of both.
Moved around the scrum as well.
Like all props, Paul, we're masters of all positions, so we will go where we asked.
we know in rugby union you're always a 10.
Yeah. I at times when in union I was prop / lock when I needed to be. But yeah, and Bjorn, we'll ask that question right now. He said, "What are the ticket prices for Go Media Stadium?" You're a season member ticket holder, right? I am. I paid $2.99 a seat this year for my tickets. I think how old? I think it was like $2.70 originally. Oh no, it was cheaper than that when we got them the first year, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
they were reasonably. It might have been something like just over like $200.
Inflation.
Inflation has gone up like 100 since then. But we bought them 2004, 2005.
Yeah, around then
was the first year we got them.
Yeah.
I think where I sit, Bjorn, I think it's like $50 if you just wanted to buy a seat for a game. So $50 for one, and I pay like $300 for 11. I'll take that. So, yeah, I don't know if you can even buy a seat around us anymore. They're always sold out. But yeah, it was great there. Actually, it feels like we don't get a lot of wins at Mount Smart this year, so I was happy to be sitting there and one. And I sent you the picture. I finally got my missus to wear a Warriors jersey to a game. She was wearing my OG, the first jersey I ever had, with the old Australian Rugby League badge and everything.
Yeah, well done, Brad.
Yeah, she has to wear that at every home game now because it's a good luck charm.
It's a must.
We'll move on to the next game. Knights defeating the Eels 34-26.
Yep, 6 tries to 5 for the Knights. We had the new kid on the block, Will Price, Greg Marju with 2, Inari Tuala with 1, and Bradman Best with 2. For the Eels, Brace Talangi had 2, should have had 3. Mitch Moses had 2, Junior Bolo had 1.
Yeah, pretty close contest here, with both sides leaving their tackling boots at home and going try for try, basically. But yeah, Knights' handling wasn't the best, but with Greg Marju and Bradman Best being human wrecking balls, the rest of the team kind of just jumped on their backs and rode to victory. Need to work on that defense, but that attack's really dangerous when it's swinging, and they could be on a roll, especially with some young fullback being named this week. That might help them out potentially. But your take on the Knights?
A good win from the Knights, albeit against the bottom team. But I think the Eels with their key guys, but when you put Moses back in that team, they're still dangerous, even though they're sitting where they're sitting on the table. So another good win from them without Ponga. Looks like they've learnt that they can win games without him this year, and with KP not far from return, if he does come back and if he does come back and find form and integrates well back into the team, it could make them a dangerous proposition at the back end of the regular season.
Yeah, he's named this week. So
he is named this week. Yeah, so if he comes back and gels well and gels quickly, there'll be a tough nut to crack for most.
Yeah, and you'll take on the Eels.
Yeah, another game and another loss. They look dangerous with the ball at times in this one. And probably unlucky not to have a hat-trick try to Blaze Talangi, like I've already said a couple of times. But Trent Barrett just somehow needs to get them to patch up their ball control and defence, because they're their own worst enemy when it comes to those areas.
Mate, they're not getting out of the hole that Trent Barrett's digging them into, mate.
That's the feeling I get too.
Bays, Eels. Yeah, their attack looked okay in patches. They looked better with Moses there, but they didn't defend and they just made a lot of errors. I think if they can tighten those aspects up, they should be able to get out of wooden spoon spot. But I don't have a lot of hopes for them getting much further than evading wooden spoon. And Paul said Bradman Best topped fantasy points. Did you go with Best?
Yeah, it was very hard not to.
I went with him.
There was a good reason why he got him.
Running meters.
Yeah, crazy. It's easy to see why he got 109 in fantasy. He's just a beast mode.
Yeah. So I thought he was fantastic. He's just a beast. So we'll move on to the final game on Saturday, mate. This one you've wrote lots of notes. Storm defeating the Raiders 16-6.
Yeah. Did I write lots of notes? I don't know.
No, I was being sarcastic.
I hate reading. Storm versus Raiders 16-6 to the Storm. 3 tries to 1. Josh King, Sean Bloor, Jack Howarth for the Storm. KO Weeks with a special effort for the Raiders. That was their only try.
Yeah, it wasn't the best game from the Storm. They made 17 errors and looked well below their best. But when push comes to shove, they just know how to win regardless of the situation, which makes them a very dangerous side to face in the finals. If you can get into a horrible game like this and still come away, ahead by 10, nothing to write home about, but a win's a win for them right now. Your take on the Storm?
Yeah, it's a weird one with the Storm this year, eh? They've had a few of those wins where it's been not a lot to write home about, but they're sitting at the top and they just keep winning. This game was a chore to watch. If I'm being honest,
it was horrible.
It was. It wasn't the greatest. Both sides showed a lack of respect for the ball. The Storm had enough in them to pull away by a couple of tries early in the second half and hold on to their lead. It wasn't a lot more to hold my attention. I was wanting to fall asleep, but yeah,
it was like watching a Union game, mate. It was horrible. But,
Probably a 66% completion rate for the Raiders. They only 40% possession. They really just did not look after the pill at all. It's knackered themselves out on defence by the sounds of things.
Yeah. And your take on the Raiders, mate?
Yeah, I mean, from that point of view, Paul, they were gutsy, the Raiders, for the most part, but they were their own worst enemy, definitely, with a number of errors and poor discipline. Probably their only highlight being the KO Weeks try, where searing break and put on the swerve and the afterburners and pretty much burnt poor Suafa'alongo. I haven't seen him get burnt like that so far yet in his career, so it was a really nice try. But other than that, more lowlights than highlights from the Raiders.
Yeah, so they also made 17 errors, so it was 17 errors each. But when they did manage to hold on to the ball, they just struggled to ask questions of the Storm defence. And they need to work on that discipline as those 6 agains killed any momentum they had hoped to create. Their season's on a knife edge, like a few teams, and they got a tough one against the Knights this week. And Simon said the boys ain't listening to Ricky. You need to discipline them more. Yeah, he needs to do something. But I think we picked the same guy this week.
Yeah, Jerome Hughes. I think the Dally M votes went behind closed doors after that round, didn't it? And I think he's leading, if I remember correctly, and with good reason. I think he's been fantastic all year.
Yeah, I think Jacko said it earlier that Hughes just keeps the Storm winning. He always seems to have something in him. And Paul said Jerome Hughes led with fantasy points with 61. He just knows how to get them that one little bit that they need to get that winning edge. And full credit to him. He's been playing great. So we'll move on. First game on Sunday. Dragons defeating the Dolphins 26-6.
Brad's game of the week, this one. 5 tries to 1 here for the Dragons. Raymond Faitala Mariner, Christian Tuipulotu, Tyrell Sloan, Jack DeBellin, and Jacob Little. And just the 1 try for the Dolphins, Tessie New.
Yeah, Dragons look strong here. Big games from Faitala Mariner, DeBellin, and Sloan got them on the front foot, and despite plenty of errors, they just kept pushing forward and refused to let the Dolphins into the match. Not an amazing performance, but a well-deserved win against the fairy tale side of 2024. That's probably the most positive I've been on the Dragons on this show ever.
I think it is.
Your take?
My take. I thought it was a great performance from the Dragons. Again, proving to be a different beast this year, and the new coach, Shane Flanagan, seems to be getting the best out of a squad that on paper, most were picking to finish bottom 4. You and I included. I think we both had them pinned dead last. So plenty of egg on our face there, though.
Spoilers for 2025 predictions. Dragons will be wooden spoon with me again.
Yeah. But yeah, they keep exceeding our expectations, and good for them. Probably not much to your dismay, Brad, but they're fighting this year, that's for sure, and they're still in a chance of making the 8, which would be massive.
Yeah,
they're in the 8. I mean, chance made the 8.
Season's still not over, mate.
Well, I know they're in the 8, but it's still a long way to go. We're going to take their spot, Paul.
Yeah, Nicholas is here a bit late about my glasses. Yeah, people were giving me shit about not being able to read properly, so I put them on. I usually try to stubborn my way through my eyesight for the best. But yeah, your take on the Dolphins?
Another off performance in this one, compounded by the loss of Marshall King to injury for the next few weeks. Hopefully they can steady the ship and possibly make their first final appearance in finals footy. Not hopefully for us Warriors fans, because that'll be another team taking up a spot in the 8 that we want. But it'd be nice to see them defy odds in their second season and pick up a spot in the 8. And they perform well for most of the year, so hopefully they can get back on track and see out this period without Marshall King, who makes a massive difference to them when he's on the field.
Mate, they are done. They're gone. I said they were gone. As soon as they lost to the Warriors C team a few weeks ago. Then they lose Jeremy Marshall King. It's over, mate.
To be fair, their recent losses have been a 4-point loss to the Warriors, a 1-point loss, a 2-point win, an 8-point loss, and this is the biggest one with a 20-point loss. But they still lost 3 out of the last 5 games, and we kind of saw this last season with the Dolphins, didn't we? They got to this kind of stage, and then they kind of just ran out of. They just don't have the depth, or didn't have the depth for this part of the season.
They're going to lose to the bye this week. But the Dolphins, just like Paul said, for me, they looked a bit more like the Dolphins we watched last season. No respect for the ball or the whistle, with 15 errors and 9 penalties, which saw them spend the majority of this match on the back foot. Missed the Hammers X Factor. They got to bye this week to refocus and try to shoot for either the top 4 or just making it into the 8 or staying in the 8 at least. But Jerry Marshall King, him getting injured last year was kind of the start of their slide. So we'll see if they have the similar effect. And Jacko said Bennett's on the phone too much helping the Bunnies. Telling them where to put their players to make them get better instead of focusing on his own team. Your player to stand out?
Went Jaden Saw. I thought he was, yeah, he was in the thick of everything. Thought he had a good one. How about you?
I went with Tyrell Sloan. Um, I just think he had a nice little bit of X factor. He's been really up and down. Um, but yeah, I'm very happy with how he went for them. He's kind of always the guy I picked last year when push came to shove. And yeah, Jaden Sewer, who you picked, went with fantasy points at the top 70. Robbie's here and he said, "How do I get so lucky in my NRL fantasy season? I watch every game and I know who's good and who's not." And that's
Luck has nothing to do with it, eh?
no luck. I picked the players. I picked the young players that I knew were going to have big years. I think I'm slowly falling apart though, so we'll see how that goes. Next game, the multi-killer for poor old Brad. The Cowboys defeating the Panthers 16-6.
I feel for you, Brad.
This is why I put money on the Tigers, man. Because this.
The flat track bully Cowboy.
Yeah. So this one was 3-1 for the Cowboys. Kyle Felt, Braden Burns, Jackson Purdue. For the Panthers, just the one try to Brad Schneider.
Yeah, Cowboys had a few wobbles, but they impressed me. Some of the old timers like Felt and Tomalolo stood up, and the youngsters that were called on followed in their wake. Still a lot of work to do, but they'll be looking to use this win to swing momentum in their favour. Your thoughts on the Cowboys?
Yeah, great start to the game for them, and they withstood the pressure when they were on the wrong side of plenty of set restarts and a couple of sin bins. Then to go on and pick up the win in Penrith in the face of some adversity, I thought this was a really big win, which could kickstart the season for the Cowboys at the right time if they take some confidence out of this, which they should.
And not only that, they've really been on the road this year. So 6 out of their last 8 games are at home. So they've actually got they've only played 6 games at home so far, 10 games away. So they really have they've done it tough from that point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your take on the Panthers?
Not their night. The Panthers obviously missing some key players this time of year. It happens. They just never really clicked into gear and never really looked like the real Panthers here. I'm sure they will. You know, it's starting to get to the time of year now where they seem to flick a switch. So I'm still expecting that.
Yeah, you can't write them off. Cleary's back soon too. But yeah, the Panthers missing most of their big names really affected them here. Admittedly, the Cowboys rested a lot of their players too. But in the past, we've praised the Panthers' depth. But they really struggled here. I am, as we just said, I'm expecting a bounce back, but there are visible chinks in the armour. I think I said to you during the game that maybe we might see the Panthers kind of be a bit more human next year when they've got no Jerome and all that. Because the next guy up mentality seems to be falling apart because they're just losing everybody. We'd be wrong. They'll kill it again, no doubt.
There's only so many next men you can pull up before the next one that comes up's not up to the level, surely. But
yeah, on paper, if you said the Panthers B team are playing the Cowboys B team, you go, oh yeah, Panthers going to win this. But that's not what happened. Your player to stand out, I think we went with the same guy.
Yeah, went with the same guy again, I'm sure. But he deserves it. Kyle Felt. Thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he's now up with Ken Irvine and Manu Vatuvai for the whole double-digit tries and double-digit seasons in a row.
Yeah, up with Manu and who was the other one? There's only 2 others. There's only 2.
Irvine.
Only 3 now that there's Kyle Felt.
Yeah.
Rob.
Irvine.
Ken Irvine. Ken Irvine was.
Yeah. So yeah, well done to him. He just keeps going. And we'll go to the last game. Roosters defeating the Tigers 40-6.
Yeah, sorry for Brad's TAB account on this one. 8-1 for the Roosters. Dom Young with 2, Terrell May, Luke Keary, Daniel Tupou with 2, James Tedesco and Victor Radley for the West Tigers, Funua was the try scorer.
Yeah, the Roosters took a little bit of time to get across the line here, but once they found their rhythm, they couldn't be stopped. Attacking at will, tearing the Tigers to shreds. A shame to see Manu go off injured, but the Roosters continue to build towards the finals and could potentially have what it takes to lift that trophy at the end of the year. Your take on the Roosters?
This is going to sound like I copied your notes. Another dominant win from the Roosters. Once they get going, they have so many weapons. I think they're a side that can threaten a title at their very best, but they'll have to live without Joey Manu for the next month, however.
Mate, if you want to, I give you my notes. If you want to just copy them, just let me know. It'll save you some time.
I didn't even read yours. I just wrote mine, and then I heard you read yours, and I'm like, shit, that sounds pretty much what I wrote.
And Paul.
I was going to point out, they read it in verse, and in the first half, 14 minutes, 16 minutes, 20 minutes. So 3 tries in 6 minutes there. And then in the second half, 64 minutes, 66 minutes, 68 minutes, 3 tries in 4 minutes. And those 2 bursts, they really just take it up a gear, bang, and it's, the game's just gone.
Your take on the Tigers?
Yeah, they're just simply outclassed in this one. I already had my B in a bonnet over it earlier. It wouldn't have been a difference maker, but I just really don't like the Api Coruscant sin binning. It's a ridiculous sin bin, just like RTS a couple of weeks back. Like I said, though, wouldn't have been a difference maker. They're just it's just a different class against the Roosters.
I mean, they got lucky to get on the board. I mean, their try was on 79 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I had to find something to say about them.
Yeah, I got plenty. I love the Tigers. The poor old Tigers. I thought they started really well here, going set for set with the Roosters. But yeah, once the Roosters broke through the Tigers just never regained their composure. I thought they were hard done by the officials, and the head of the officials agreed. But especially Coruscant Simbin, hopefully their confidence is not too much from this performance, but they were simply outplayed. And your player to stand out.
Tedesco, think he's been very sound for them all year. Yeah,
that's such a soft option. I have gone with Dom Young because he would score all the tries in the quarter. So I go with him. No, I thought he was good.
Oh, that's good.
And I didn't want to pick Tedesco again. Because I saw on fantasy that he scored 75. I was like, I'm not picking him because I feel like I've had all the fantasy leaders this week. So, that is the round. As we ramble.
Yeah, but there was a number of good performances from a fantasy point. I mean, quite often you have a guy who's well ahead, and then everyone else is on like 30s, 40s. This time you had Tupu on 60, Young 62, and Radley also on 64. So it was an all-round performance here from the Roosters. It wasn't one person just ripping them to pieces.
Yeah, and Jacko mentions as well, he said he doesn't know how Appy keeps his game at such a high level, getting smashed almost every week. The guy's amazing. Yeah, I was kind of expecting his form to kind of fall apart with an underperforming team, but he's not letting the crap that is the Tigers at the moment drag him down. And that's why I'm hopeful that they're going to turn things around next year. Turning things around for them is, maybe getting to like 10th or 11th spot. But I love Appy. I think he's working hard for them. So they're getting their money's worth out of him at least. But we'll bring up which one? Dealer's choice, the tipping comp. You bastard. So Simon's still leading. Not a great round. Most people got 3. Richard, you got the highest with 4.
I'm moving on up, mate.
Yeah. And then there were a lot of 1s, which were either people that forgot to tip or just were really bad at tipping this week.
Richie got 3. MP Sports Fan got 4.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. No, yeah. MB Sports Fan. Sorry. Yeah,
I'm still moving on up.
Yeah, you're still climbing. Thank you for correcting me, Paul. And they pick at glasses. So yeah, Simon's at the top on 88. Then Rocking Horse Road and myself are on 86. ACT Hellcats on 85. Richie, you're on 83, and Bjorn, you're down in 8th at 82. So it's still really tight. There's still Bjorn's got 2 jokers up his sleeve. I've got 1. You've got 1. Simon and ACT Hellcat have burnt all theirs. So, and Rocking Horse Road's only used 1, so there could be some movers and shakers. I'm just not confident in my tips at the moment, so I don't want to waste my joker. But yeah, well done, guys. I'm still going to win it because that's what I do. I'm undefeated on this bloody show since we started. So I'm just giving you some time in the sun, Simon. So we'll move to the ladder. You can do the top 8, mate, because I did top 8 last week.
Yep. So sitting in first, Melbourne is still in first. Actually, the top 4 remains pretty much unchanged. Melbourne, Penrith, Cronulla, Roosters. The Doggies have moved into 5th. Dolphins have dropped into 6th. The Cowboys have climbed into 7th. And the Dragons moved into the 8th. There you go, Brad.
Yep. Dragons are on at the bottom of the ladder on the wrong side there. They just need to move to the right and they'll be fine. Then we go to the rest of the teams. Manly have moved up to 9th. Broncos have moved down to 10th. Knights have moved up to 11th. Raiders moved down to 12th. Warriors have stayed the same at 13. Rabbits have stayed the same at 14. Titans stay the same at 15th. Parramatta have moved up. So they're no longer dead last. And then Tigers have gone back. Separated only by points differential, those two. But I would say the Eels are more likely to get wins than the Tigers the rest of the season.
Yeah, a couple of things to look at, I think, here is that the Titans and Rabbitohs have had 3 buys each already. So they've had all their buys already. So whilst the Titans are 2 points ahead of the Eels and Tigers, in effect, they're on the same points because the Eels and Tigers still got a buy to come, which will pull them up. Also, if you look at it, your Roosters, Cowboys, and Warriors, they've all just had 1 buy so far. So you think about the Cowboys are actually in 5th, really, with that, and you could suggest that the Warriors are in that kind of 9th, 10th place with Manly because of that buy they've still got left in hand. So and you got to think of also. You talked about the Cowboys resting some players. Well, yeah, they've only had 1 buy so far. And they've been on the road a lot. So it's been a real. They'll really enjoy having a bit of a rest, I think, and getting some of those players fit.
A lot of teams had 2 buys before they even had their first, which I think is crazy. I don't think any team should get their second buy before another team's had their first. I don't understand how the draw works like that, but yeah, it might prove to be good for them in the end, in the long run with buys later in the season. We're lucky we get a buy in the very last round if we're still relevant. That's handy points to finish your season. So,
and also means you get a rest before finals time to get your players ready in 2 weeks to prepare.
As opposed to resting our players like we did last year.
Yep.
And so we'll move on to questions. We kind of answered a lot of questions. I don't know if there's any that we didn't touch.
We've dealt with all the chitter chatter in the chat as we've gone along. So yeah, I'll leave it to you guys. Because we're an hour and a half in, so but having a short one tonight.
Yeah. Well, I've got nowhere to be. That's your question for me, mate.
Yeah. Okay. So we're starting to approach the juicy end of the regular season, and the Broncos haven't won in a few rounds now. They have a game against the Panthers coming this week. Do you see them steadying the ship and claiming a top 8 spot?
I don't think so. I think they're not going to make it. I think they're missing Reynolds too much.
It's music to my ears.
Yeah, I don't. I've said it now, so they will. But yeah, I think Reynolds is just too big a miss, and it's too late in the season when he comes back. Round 24, they're expecting. I think the damage is going to be done already by then, which I think I said when he first got injured. Said by the time he comes back, they're probably going to be out of contention. So hopefully. Them missing gives us another way to get in, at least, which is all I care about. But yeah, what about you?
Oh, I'd love to get in at their expense. Don't worry about that. It's going to be tough for them for sure because they're going to be playing the Panthers this week, who are wanting to bounce back. They'll welcome back some troops this week as well. If they can manage to pull off a win there, then
yeah,
go on, Brad.
A loss there will see them jump down the ladder a bit, I think too.
Yeah,
a lot of teams below them. Knights and Raiders are playing each other, so one of them will definitely jump them.
If they can manage to pull off a win,
them as well. If they win, they're back in the running again if they win.
Yeah, and they'll get confidence from it. But I don't see it. Spoilers, I'm probably going to tip the Panthers this week. It's going to be tough because it's so close this year that there seems to be a number of teams all in contention, and apart from Melbourne, a lot of teams are dropping games as well, which is keeping everyone in the hunt.
Yeah, Gordon says at times giving people buys, points for buys. Look, at the end of the day, you get 6 points anyway. Doesn't make any difference whether you give them or not. Everyone gets the same, so it doesn't really make any difference. But looking at this, then you've got Cowboys on 20 points, and then in fifth place, the Warriors on 17. We said that's kind of like 19 points. So really, you got the Raiders in 13th place on 18 points. So it's 2 points between sixth because of we said the Cowboys go high, but 2 points between sixth and 13th, which is really is insane. It's very tight. In that crowd.
Yeah, and in regards to the giving points for the bye, I think the reason it happened ages ago was they brought up the situation of, say, Warriors had the bye in the last round. So they're like 1 or 2 points out of making finals. They don't get the chance because they're not playing. And I think they were more worried that, say, like a Roosters is in that situation and they miss the finals because you made them not play. But yeah, everyone gets the same amount of points, so if you give them or don't, it doesn't really matter for me. But my question to you, mate, say the Warriors are still within reach of the finals when Sean Johnson is cleared to return. Do you bring him in or do you stick with Tamati Martin? To be still in the running, it means Tamati has to be playing all right.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. If we go the rest of SJ's injury stint and we've won every game, I don't see how you can slot him back in there. The evidence of form is just too compelling against him and in Tamati's favour. It's tough to say because I'm a fan of SJ, always have been, but we just seem to have performed a lot better. Bless you. We've seemed to have performed a lot better of late when Tamati's running the ship.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I've come to my own conclusion that you got to have one or the other. They're not combining well. So if they decide to go with Sean, Tamati has to go out. So I'm not sure. It's going to be tough for Webby. I'm glad it's him making the choice and not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we may as well move on. Thanks for answering my questions, mate. We'll go on to the Warriors Bulldogs lineups. If you want to run down that Warriors team,
I will. Wingers: Dallin, Martinez-Lesniak, Marcelo Montoya. Centres: Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Adam Pompey. Halves: Chanel Harris-Tavita, Tamati Martin. Front row: Adam Fanua-Blake, Mitch Barnett, Wade Egan. Back rowers: Marata Niokore, Kurt Capewell, Tohu Harris. Interchange bench: Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker, Jazz Tevanga, Jackson Ford.
Yeah, what do you think of the team?
Good. It's pretty much the same side that we won with last week, so don't change what worked last week.
Same as X17. I think we'll see I think we'll see Dylan and Tohu switch like we have been the last few weeks, and have Dylan starting. But yeah, I'm happy with that team. I think in my review I said the only back that could be left out would be Adam Pompey. Not Adam Pompey, Masato Motoya. I was looking at the wrong name there. But yeah, I'm happy with that team. I think it's a solid enough team that should be able to help them be the first team to beat the Bulldogs at a core stadium. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Speaking of the doggies, I've got their team. So we've got Connor Tracy at fullback, Jacob Kraz and Blake Wilson on the wings, Bronson Cherry and Stephen Crichton in the centres, Matt Burden and Toby Sexton in the halves, front rows Max King, Reed Marnie and Sam Hughes. Then we've got Cacao and Salmon in the edges, and Bailey Hayward at lock. Interchange, we've got Kurt Mann, Josh Curran, Curtis Morin, and Lapoi Hupoi. I probably butchered that name, but it's not a bad Bulldogs team. It's kind of what we see from them. Usual worries, Burden in his boots, Reed in his niggle. There's a few players in there. If you want to listen to the conspiracies about AFB potentially not wanting to play anymore, this is his perfect opportunity to take the rest of the year off. Where if Reed gets in the niggle, just deck him. Get suspended for the rest of the year. You don't have to play for the Warriors, and Reed will probably shut his mouth from then on. And
Jazz Tafanga might deck him.
Yeah, Jazz I think will be his target because Jazz or Dylan Walker are the ones that might bite back and get the desired effect that Reed wants when he does the niggle. So I'm hoping that they're taking their chill pills and they know it's coming. And I expect a big game out of Curran, his first official game against the Warriors since leaving. It is. It's the first one. The closest was the Indigenous game where he had his niggle with Jazz. But yeah, who you picking, Matt?
Dogs. Sorry.
Dogs. I'll go Warriors. I think we're going to get them. I'm confident.
I hope so.
It's going to be tight. I think either way, it's going to be tight. So, yeah, I think Warriors by maybe 6 at best.
I will take that every day of the week, Brad. I'm just thinking of the tipping comp. I'm starting to move up. Dogs haven't lost at home. It's killing me to pick against Warriors, but sorry,
Dogs
that's what it is.
Home. Dogs' choice is going with them in the multi.
Yeah,
I don't care
exactly.
if it's not chosen it. It's in the multi because, dogs at home, that's money.
At least I will have an excuse that it wasn't my fault we lost the multi this week when the Warriors win. But it is what it is. So we'll go to the rest of the round. So we got on Thursday night, we've got the Eels and the Rabbits. I've gone with the Rabbits. I just think, Moses is back, but I can't back the Eels at the moment.
No. Rabbits.
So you pick the same. Friday, we've got Sharks, Titans.
Right, $1.68 favourites.
Yeah, Friday, Sharks, Titans. I've gone with Sharks.
Yep. Me too.
$1.42. Yep, that's the obvious one.
Probably, or it should be the game of the round, but Broncos aren't delivering at the moment. But Broncos, Panthers, I've gone with Panthers.
Panthers.
Then we've got the Bulldogs, Warriors next, where I've picked correctly, and you two both have not.
Yep.
Next game, we've got Tigers, Storm. I'm going with the Storm.
No Tigers this time, Brad.
I might still put money on it, mate. We never know. We'll see what happens on Saturday afternoon.
The Storm are the only team that have got a 4-0 form at the moment. All the other teams got losses, apart from the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, and then the final game of Saturday, we've got Cowboys, Seagulls. I've gone with Cowboys. I just think Cowboys at home should get the job done. Tommy Turbo's back, though. But,
This is a tough one for me. I'll go the other way.
Yep, fair.
Go, man.
Then first game on Sunday, Roosters, Dragons. I've gone with Roosters.
Roosters
are the shortest odds all weekend, so you haven't got any choice.
They're playing the worst team in the competition, the Dragons, so of course.
The worst team in the 8.
Yeah, worst team in the 8, definitely. And then the final game is Raiders Knights. I've gone with Knights. Raiders
Yeah.
are struggling a bit. Kalen Pong is back. I think Knights will get it here.
Yeah. Could be a tough game, but I've got Knights.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I'm
Simon
going
said
to leave that one off the multi, because I think that's a 11th, 12th. That's a very close one. Both in bad form at the moment. But
the Knights will win that game, and the Warriors will win, and your multi will be gone. And if you'd listened to me,
that's fine. But I say I'm sticking. I'm not putting that one on the multi. There, it does surprise me a bit here. You've got the Roosters in 4th against 8th place. Is the shortest odds of the round. It's not someone like they've got shorter odds than the Storm, who are top, against Tigers, who are bottom. I mean, they're saying that the Roosters are more likely to win than the Storm. That's a bit nuts, really, on that one.
Well, I think the last time the Roosters and Dragons played, the Roosters obliterated them.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
Might have something to do with it.
But I think the fact that top versus bottom has got longer odds than 4th versus 8.
it's because it's like me put money on the Tigers, Paul. Changes the odds.
I'm not saying that. See, unlike yourself, who just decides, when I've lost money, I'll lose some more. I will keep my losses under control. Thanks.
That's going to happen. If the Warriors lose, I would have lost money, and I'll go bugger it. I'm going to get my money back by picking the Tigers.
Okay, $2 on, and if that multi comes up, we'll be $17 to the good.
I think it'll be only the second time we've won a multi this season. So that is it for the NRL. So that means Jacko can leave. We'll talk about the overseas match. So there was no Super League this week due to an international match between England and France. England won 40-8, but there are a lot of complaints about the lack of fan turnout, with a number in the low thousands going to the game, and no televised coverage, with it only being available on streaming platform. And this match was also a curtain raiser. So England versus France International was a curtain raiser for a championship game between Toulouse and Featherstone in a lower grade competition, which makes no sense to me.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You think it would be the other way around. But for France to feel a little bit better, the under-19s defeated the England Academy side yesterday 40-37. So they've got the young guys coming through, but 40-8 at the top grade in front of next to nobody is horrible for the international game up there. And there's been a lot of talk about it, about how international league's dying in the Northern Hemisphere. And they're worried about, are there even going to be people coming to the Samoa and England games? I think they will. Like Simon said, it's a really bad time of the year to play the internationals anyway. They should play them at the end of the year. It's the wrong time. And no one's interested in watching England, to be honest. And England, it's not even their best team, because a guy like Dom Young will be in that team, Herbie Farnworth. They would be playing. So you still got a lot of good players playing for England as well. But their big names from the NRL aren't there. So it's weird. But at least there was an entertaining under-19s game that I saw on YouTube. I watched bits of it today. A bit like the under-20s, mate, where it's a lot of great attack, no defense whatsoever. But the Super League is back this week. We've got Wigan versus Lee, St Helens versus Castleford, Warrington versus Uddersfield, Leeds versus London, Hull Car versus Catalans, and Salford versus Hull FC. And Simon has said as well, it's more important for Toulouse to win the championship and hopefully get into Super League to boost the game of France than some random international. Yeah, exactly. I don't actually know who won between Toulouse and that. I assume that means Toulouse won. I didn't check that, but let's go back to the clickety-clack machine. This is great dead air.
Brad back on the news.
I I can't even find it. Yeah, Simon hasn't checked either. Bloody hell, Simon, you're the guy that's meant to know. I'll look into it for next week anyway. But is there anything else you want to add, guys, before I let everyone go at an hour 44?
Great to be back. Having a chat with you guys. That's all I got to say. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
I'll say my goodbye soon. I'm just waiting. Yep, we're at an hour 45. I waited for it to click. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and joining us on the standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or YouTube, or at your convenience on iHeartRadio or Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thanks for joining me again, Paul and Richie, and welcome back. And good night, everyone.